Hey guys, welcome to ADR Tech Reviews, and I don't know if you can tell, but my video quality has gone up. But that's not what I'm talking about in this video. I'm going to be talking about overclocking your AMD CPU. And by all means, this isn't really a guide, more of a live overclocking video, because it really is going to be the real first time that I'm actually overclocking my own 8370. I don't know if you guys can remember the last time I overclocked this specific CPU. I overclocked it with an ASRock 990 FX Fatality motherboard, and it pooped on me because it just didn't have sufficient cooling on the VRMs. So if I'm gonna have to warn you guys about anything, is gonna be the cooling on the motherboard, specifically the VRMs, because mostly like that's what's left out. I might just do some B-roll and kind of the ghetto thing that I'm doing here, which I'll show you later, because I recommend actually just mounting another fan. For example, this one, I just had it lying around for this specific purpose, to show you guys what you can use a fan, for example, and just put it kind of zip tied to your case, something not permanent, at least for the first time, just so you can gotta get that stressing out and see where your temperature maximum will be. I also suggest you have very sufficient cooling to your CPU. That's very important, considering now I have a water cooling setup, a custom water cooling setup, which you can see some videos around here wherever I want to put them. You can see a video of me doing my custom water cooling setup for the first time as well. But since I have that, I decided that I do want to overclock the CPU. And I'm not saying that you need a custom water cooling setup just to overclock your CPU. But I'm doing it because ever since that motherboard died on me, I've been very, very scared. And for good reason, because it killed the motherboard, and it also killed the CPU as well. And it fucked up my graphics card a fair bit. So I just kind of had a very, very long couple months after that happened, trying to just recuperate everything that happened due to that. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. I'm just gonna show you guys as I do everything, what tools I'm using, what utilities I'm gonna use, what I'm gonna use to stabilize and to stress test my CPU, and let's just go straight ahead. Alright guys, so here we are on my desktop with my camera, of course. So sorry I don't have any desktop recording utility, but I'm gonna be using EasyTune 6 with my Gigabyte motherboard, mainly just to see the real temperatures as real as I can get. I don't know, you can't see that at all, as opposed to when I pull out core temp, which I also will be using just in case, just to see my load. As you can see right now, it says it's at 7 degrees Celsius, which is not physically possible at all, because whoa, why am I not? Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, you can't really compare 25 degrees Celsius to 12. That's not good. So we're just going to be using this just as a redundant thing, as well as CPU, HW monitor, also for load, and so you can see the megahertz and, for example, everything. Again, this also says 7 degrees Celsius. Doesn't really work out too well. But kind of for stressing, I will be using Prime 95. I will also be using Cinebench R15, RealBench. I actually probably use RealBench instead of Prime 95, unless I see that RealBench isn't doing too much. And also, I might also use Handbrake, just in case, because this is a real world software. I actually do use this. And PC Mark 8, which I actually got thanks to Future Mark. They actually gave me a press key for me to do my testing and whatnot. What else do I got? Nope, that's about it. And I think I might move on to some safety features I might want to cover. Alright, if you're wondering why this build is so ghetto and why I have a fan just there, I will get into more detail about it right now. You can see my custom water cooling setup. Triple rad at the top. If you did not see my previous video, let me go up a little bit. Triple rad on the top if you did not see my previous video. I got all my water cooling stuff around there. I'm only water cooling the CPU, mainly because there was no block for that GPU and I checked. We'll see that this fan is directly on top of the CPU area, mainly just to cool that area of this board and to cool the VRMs, if you can see them. Let me actually zoom. Focus on those VRMs. There we go. You can see that heat pipe there, cooling both the North Bridge and the VRMs, which is also very good to see. Mainly, this is probably one of like the beefiest coolers I've actually ever seen on a motherboard, and I'll go ahead and compare it right now directly to this ASRock 990FX Fatality Killer. Let's zoom out a bit. We'll see it. So the difference, no heat pipe, not really sufficient cooling on this North Bridge here, and not as good cooling on the South Bridge either. Now the VRMs, I do remember, are actually very, very nice. The VRM's cooling is pretty sufficient, but I guess not enough for how hot it got. And I will say I did not have my custom water cooling set up at the time, so that could also be a reason for that. So yeah, make sure you have sufficient cooling to your CPU. Make sure you have sufficient cooling to your motherboard. For example, an extra freaking fan if you really need it, just in case. For example, if it just gets way too hot, you know you're gonna have to tone that stuff down. So there we go. After we're done with these safety precautions, we can go ahead and move straight on to getting in that BIOS and overclocking your CPU. Alright, so the way I wanted to go along with this video is actually kind of a first-person view on what I'm doing, just so to show you guys everything I'm going to do. So actually, I'm going to close Skype, even though I'm going to have to close it again later on. But I also have a second monitor, which is where I'm kind of showing all my temperatures and stuff, which I'll probably move them to the first screen when I need to. But to actually begin, I actually want to do this. I want to do like a baseline score of Cinebench, so let's start that up. Actually, I have this weird. Just keep you guys keep this in mind, guys. I'm running one stick of RAM of 8 GB, 1600. So this actually uses some RAM as well. I've noticed some fluctuations in score with better RAM. This isn't the best RAM, isn't the fastest RAM. I'm using one stick, single channel, not as good as dual channel. So keep that in mind when it comes to scores, and you can kind of see there. Let's run the CPU. Let's fast forward this. Alright, and it is finished. So let's actually go ahead and zoom in so you guys can see that. Focus on there. And we can see actually worse than my previous score. 614. Many of you may say that's very low, and I agree, that's actually kind of low, and I do kind of blame the RAM. I don't know what's going on here, but I am scoring 614. I'm actually not sure how this test is actually scored, but 614, 619, 603 seems to be the baseline of this processor. So let's move on with another test, or I think I'll just go ahead and start overclocking. Alright, so now I have my computer off, and we're going to go ahead and turn it on. You can see me in the background, and you can see this box in the background. We're going to go ahead and turn the computer on and mash the delete button. Oh, I'm going down on my chair. There we go. And you'll be in your BIOS. If you have Gigabyte, you'll have the Gigabyte UEFI BIOS. Asus, you'll have the Asus UEFI BIOS. And my dual monitors don't work, so it's like a single monitor and just repeats the same image. So yeah, it's kind of trippy. For example, you have the Asus BIOS and you have the ASRock BIOS, depending on what motherboard you are going to have. Alright, so once you're in your BIOS, you're going to go ahead and find your voltage settings. Usually on other BIOSes, you'll find them under like CPU information or advanced settings. So here on this BIOS specifically, let's zoom in for the people that cannot see. This says advanced frequency settings. So I'm going to go ahead and double click that. And we're going to be presented, let me lift the camera. And we're going to be presented with our CPU information about all the clock ratios and all that stuff. So what you want to see is basically, oh, my mouse kind of gets a little weird on this surface on the BIOS, but whatever. You know, we have our advanced, you know, all this stuff. CPU ratio, clock ratio is what we want to control. So here I'll probably just go ahead and change it to 21. So here that would change it to 4.2. So I think that's pretty safe for first time. So let's go back and okay. Let's go back to our voltage and look at the CPU V-core. I think that's pretty safe for right now. The auto kind of fluctuates up and down, so I think this would be perfectly fine. Oh, I need to write auto. There we go. Alright, so let's save and exit. Save and exit setup. I want to see if it boots, which I really hope it should. We have our wall post. There we go. That's my GPU, huh? Gets pretty loud. Alright, so I'm going to skip this part so you don't see me logging into Windows. Alright, so now we're here. We're on our Windows desktop. I've actually closed as many applications that I don't need, like Skype that comes up automatically. We're going to go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead actually and open up, completely forgot the name of this. But this is a utility by Gigabyte. I'm not going to open up Core Temp. Did I not click yes? I guess not. Well, okay, I guess this does not want to open. So I guess we're just going to have to go with our wits here and use the wrong temperature. So let me open up Core Temp, and we're going to see we are getting extremely low temperatures that make no sense. But let's just have this here to see our frequency, see if it actually turbos up. Not turbos up, whatever. Let's actually run our Cinebench one more time. Let me open up, put it like that. So I can see my frequency. Here it does say, what the heck? It actually does not say the changed frequency for some reason, but we'll see it here. So let's run. Okay, and we finished. And actually, for some reason, might be because we actually are overclocked and it's just not reading it, but we actually did get a much better score. We actually got 40 points more than before, and not really much of an increase, and it is kind of showing up weird, except now it's showing up 4.2. Whatever. We can confirm this is 4.2 gigahertz, just a large increase here from here. So I think we can move on to PC Mark. I'd like to save my score. Yes. Actually, let's go ahead and do Real Bench. I think this is going to be good. We're just going to go ahead and do the Real Bench benchmark. We are going to, let me zoom in. We are going to do the Real Bench benchmark now, the ROG Real Bench benchmark. Image editing, H.264 video encoding, and heavy multitasking. I'm not going to do OpenCL. I think that's more of a GPU thing, so we're just going to take that off. And we're going to do these three, and I'm going to show you my scores after we finish here. Alright, we're not done with this testing here on Real Bench, but I just wanted to point out we are, not with the mounts, we're doing 100% on the CPU for the video encoding. This is actually what got my computer to crash all the time. Video encoding specifically when I was running 4.4 gigahertz on the CPU a while back. I didn't really play with any voltages because I didn't want to play around with that without any like real testing. But yeah, if this passes, then we are gonna be fine, hopefully. Alright, now we've finished with our real bench scores. Image editing, which actually didn't take as much of my CPU as I thought, so I'm going to uncheck that because I didn't use that. So encoding, here's the score, here's the time. Heavy multitasking, here's the score, here's the time. Now I'm not going to do the handbrake benchmark, quote-unquote benchmark, because this actually does use handbrake. I have completely forgotten that. We're going to go ahead and see that. There we go. This does use handbrake to measure the encoding. So killing two birds with one stone there. So moving on, I think we'll be fine kind of exiting this 4.2 gigahertz range. Although it doesn't say it up here, but it is 4.2 gigahertz. We did put it in the BIOS. So I feel comfortable exiting this range. And now going a little bit higher, going to 4.4, which is actually the kickoff point to this processor last time I checked. So let's quickly go there. So now we set up 4.4 gigahertz on the BIOS. We're going to go ahead, exit, and go to Windows again. So now I'm back. I do want to point out that I got EasyTune 6. That's the name of the software. EasyTune 6 to start up again, and it does show 4.4 gigahertz up here. Here's a processor, 8370, blah blah blah. Voltage, which, like I said, fluctuates. We saw in the BIOS it said 1.41, and it did right now go to 1.44. So let me actually exit up all the things that I don't want to be on right now, like Steam and all that. Yeah, close OneDrive. I think that's good. And let's go back to Cinebench and start it all over again. Alright, we finished running Cinebench, and this is the score right here. 4.24 gigahertz, 4.42, sorry, gigahertz, 672 compared to 644, so it's also a large increase. I also want to point, oh, by the way, do you see that 4.63 here? Oh, I didn't even notice I did that. I remember that. Anyways, let me actually point on the box as I focus here, sorry. This CPU on the box says you can reach 5 gigahertz on it. I don't believe it. This is just a marketing thing, although I do love AMD, and I'm sure that you can get 5 gigahertz on an 8350 and 8370. It just really depends on your bin, depends on your silicon lottery, although AMD has kind of tried to perfect this chipset CPU architecture. This is specifically Vishera. With all the time that they've had this architecture on hand since 2013, I believe. Binning is still possible. If you do want 5 gigahertz for sure, get like a 9590, and I think some people do have problems with them saying that they're not reaching 5 gigahertz. So yeah, overclock on your own risk, you might not get the same results. 4.42 gigahertz, we're okay. We're gonna go ahead and move on to Real Bench. When I zoom out here. So here's Real Bench, no image editing, no OpenCL, and I'm gonna start it. I'll get back to you guys when I finish. We're about to finish this Real Bench benchmark, and I want to show you guys the temperature. It seems to be maxing out at 35 degrees Celsius. That 50 up there is just kind of something I set up, by the way, just so it wouldn't like do a loud alarm when it reached 50, if it reached 50. So you can kind of see the advantage of having a custom water cooling setup. It does tell me that the CPU is colder. Oh, well, it just finished, but it does tell me that the CPU is colder with this water cooling setup. And just to remind you guys, and I'll tell you guys maybe later in this video, AMD doesn't really have thermometers inside their CPUs. So I'll explain this when we finish everything. Alright, so here we have it, our scores. In fact, I think this score is lower than what we did last time, so that's kind of strange. The encoding, I don't remember, but I feel like this is definitely lower, for sure. I'll have to go back and check that. I feel like the time is way longer. I don't know. I don't remember the score from last time. You guys can correct me, and I'll probably go ahead and look at it right now. So I think that is actually good. PC Mark, I might want to do that as well, so we can do that. We can do PC Mark. I didn't use PC Mark the first time. PC Mark is the one, it takes a while, so I kind of didn't want to use it the first time. But we can do it now, considering this is 4.4 gigahertz. So we can do that. So let's go ahead and choose. You know what? For this, I'll do this for you guys. I have a feeling that this isn't gonna complete the test completely because I've had problems with PC Mark in the past, especially with Windows 10. So we can just go ahead and check that and just do it. And I'll get back to you when this finishes because it's gonna take a while. And we ran into a blue screen all the way at the end. Cause it's, oh my god. I don't even know how to react to that at this point. Oh my god. I spent, I think this is about almost an hour or a little bit more into the benchmark and it just blue screened. But I think it was because the software kind of freaked out. I remember I was here and it said like it stopped working, but that might mean that our frequency kind of, it might be unstable. So I don't know how high I want to do that voltage, honestly, to be honest with you. It's already at 1.41. I kind of feel weird about lifting it from that. So in fact, I'll actually go back and I'll leave it to 4.3 because I really want to be safe with it. And like I said, this isn't nothing, what am I doing? 5. I'm going to leave it at 4.3 because this isn't a guide. This is not a guide. This is just me doing what I feel comfortable with this. It's at 4.4 right now. It's not really performing as well as I want it to, so I'll leave it at 4.3. I'm sure I can take it farther if I bump up the voltage, but I'm not going to do that because right now I'm running a freaking fan. And I'm not going to be running a fan all the time. So I'm just going to keep it like this. 4.3 should be fine. 4.2 is fine. 4.3 should be fine too. I'm going to save and exit. We're going to boot into Windows. And yeah, the fans get loud when they boot up. But yeah, I think we should end this video here. I'm not going to do any more testing, at least not on video, because it's been long enough. So I'll just end this video here and go into my ending. Alright guys, so you can see from all my testing and overclocking that I managed to get a 4.3 gigahertz overclock on it. This isn't the best. Like I said, this can be better not with a better cooling system. I guess if you do LN2, then yeah, hell yeah. But I have a very decent water cooling system, so that's good for where I want to be. I'm not trying to do like super high overclocks, to be honest with you guys. I'm comfortable at 4.3 because I don't feel like bumping up the voltage any more than I have to. So it's all fine for me. Yeah, I blue screened at 4.4 actually all the way at the end, so it lasted longer than I actually expected it to. I don't know if you can hear the background noise. So basically, that's what I did. You can use this as a guide. From my experience, you can definitely go higher if you so feel need to. If you really want to bump up that voltage and take that risk, I definitely encourage you to go very incremental because that's something very dangerous. You know, voltage can really ruin your system if you don't know what you're doing. And since I'm not very pro at it, it is my last 8370. I haven't used the FX line too much. I actually was pretty good with my 760K on that FM2 Plus socket with the A88X chipset. So I was actually pretty decent with that. I actually got pretty far with that 760K. I don't have any videos of that. And that motherboard is in my sister's build, so I probably won't be able to do any videos for that until I get a new motherboard, which I probably will not. We can see in the future. But anyways, yeah, I'm not gonna fiddle around with this any longer since this is my last 8270. But I do think I'm pretty okay with the results that I got. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Click that like button, subscribe down below, like it if you liked it, dislike if you disliked it, all that stuff. If you feel like I am horrible at doing whatever I want to do, go ahead and dislike it. I don't really care if you don't like my videos, I'll keep doing them. But yeah, like, whatever, subscribe, there we go. go ahead and watch all my other videos that you probably see down there or anywhere I decide to put them with the little cards. Those cards are actually very useful. And I'll see you guys in the next one.